Hello.
Hello, I playing
The
around.
host hadn't joined yet. I'll
Really?
turn it on in a minute, I think.
We're pretty early, I guess.
It's 6:51, so yeah, we're early.
Good. So I think we shouldn't be able to get in. I think that is the problem. All right, there are I have 7 participants here. Well, I'm Ruth.
Do what?
My name is Ruth. How are you?
Hi, Ruth. I'm Camille.
You're Camille.
Yes. Let's see. I'm trying to get the top to.
Yes. Well,
there we go. Show video participants. Okay.
Chat. I got. I don't want to stop the video. You don't want to leave the meeting either. Oh, okay.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. All right. See, I think that he could arrange it so that we can't even do this. But what time is it now? We have 6 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, we should be set up so we're all muted.
Okay, I'll mute myself. I don't think Charlie has signed in yet.
No, he hasn't.
I have unmuted myself.
I just saw Mariana waving.
Okay. Yep. Hi. Hey, Marianne.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm fine. Hey, are you heartbroken? Are you heartbroken?
No.
No.
Still fighting the good fight.
You always fight the good fight. And
Trying.
I'm gonna shoot you, sister. But I thought of you.
Thank you.
Well, we've got 2 minutes.
When you shop with Wayfair, you can bring commitment to life and save in more ways than one.
He has music on in the background.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
I'm trying to get everybody muted.
Hi there.
Hello, can you?
Hi, Charlie.
Hi,
Hi, Charlie.
good morning, good evening. How you doing?
All right. Hi.
All right, bingo. All right. I'm sorry, I got everybody muted to keep it down. We got a little bit before we start. Hey, Martin, how you doing? All right. 7 o'clock, let's get a sense of where we are on our participants. See Ruth, Eileen, Atoy, Tim. LB, Atoy, Deborah, E6400, hello, whoever you are. Eileen, Glenda Grant, Carrie. All right, Randy. Randy, where's your bride?
She should be on or getting on.
All right. Okay, we're getting there. Hang in for a few more minutes, folks. I like these ones that don't have a name. They have a computer number or a phone number. All right. Getting ready to start. She hasn't made it on, unless Barbara's in on one of these phone numbers or something.
Can you hear me now?
Is that Barbara?
Me, this is Virginia.
Hey, Virginia, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Okay. I've never used this program before, so bear with me. I'm very sorry.
That's all right. Well, I was just waiting for a couple more people to get on there, so I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody.
Okay.
All right. All right, we got a pretty good number of people on. And all right, well, let me go ahead and get this started. Wanted to say hello. Welcome to our April meeting. First thing I want to do is give a shout out to Way to Go Wisconsin. Gave us a shot in the arm, made us feel really good about that Supreme Court race. And actually, there were 2 other judgeships that the incumbent Republicans lost. So it felt good. Any good news at this time is more than welcome. Once again, if you find when we get to the time to be able to ask questions, please do find your little blue hand raised. So you will go to the top of my screen and I can unmute you so you can ask your question of our guest or in the context of our regular meeting. So if you haven't found it, find your little blue hand. It's 3 dots, I think at the bottom of the screen that you can find. I want to go ahead and recognize some of the folks who are on our call. I see Councilwoman, and this will be alphabetical, so bear with me. Thank you, Andrea McClellan, for getting on. I was on a call with her just a few minutes ago. Congressman Scott, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
You are welcome.
All right, and Delegate Jay Jones is on the call. Joni Ivey from Congressman Scott's former chief of staff. Thanks for being here. Former Chair Linwood Fisher is on the call. Councilman Martin Thomas, thanks for being on the call. And looking, Ryan Jackson from Mark Warner's office. And Veronica from Elaine Lauria's office. So welcome. And if I missed any of our elected officials, I apologize.
Hey, Joe, did you mention Jay?
I did mention Delegate Jones. I did. So
Thank you, Charlie.
Yep. How you doing? So with that, let's move on to the meeting. First order, let me get this and there we go. All right, as is the case, and again, everybody's unmuted to prevent the feedback, but on me, we want to do the pledge. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I will not bore anybody with singing of the national anthem. So with that big round of applause, our guest speaker tonight is Eileen Woll of the Sierra Club. Eileen has been working diligently on what we think is going to be one of the most incredible economic development and environmentally sound things that can happen here for the Commonwealth, the Eastern Seaboard, the Mid-Atlantic, and the nation. So with that, Eileen, let me get you unmuted. There you go. Whoops, you moved. You are unmuted. And let me get your presentation up here.
Great.
There we go.
Yeah,
Eileen Woll,
thanks.
Sierra Club.
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. I hope everybody else can.
Good. Well, thank you. Again, my name is Eileen Woll. I'm at Norfolk DEM and also the Offshore Energy Program Director for the Sierra Club. I'm just celebrated my 12th year anniversary. So really excited about the work that we're doing. Sierra Club is very supportive of offshore wind, and I'm very excited about the opportunities and presenting that to you, and hopefully that you become equally as excited and engaged in our campaigns. The climate crisis, as we all know, demands that we transition to a clean energy economy immediately. With offshore wind, we can easily and quickly do just that, and at the same time create tens of thousands of jobs. Offshore, off our coast, is the power potential that is nearly double the nation's electricity use. Next, Charlie. Are you advancing through my slides?
Yep, I advance it. Is it a little bit of delay? Wind energy offshore Virginia right here, right now?
Yeah, can you move to the next slide?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. There are currently about 26,500 megawatts of offshore wind projects on the planning horizon right now along the Atlantic. These projects are easily capable of powering over 15 million homes by 2030. This is enough to equivalent of about 15 million homes, all by 2030. This is definitely America's new frontier, and one that Virginia can and must play a part in. So why exactly offshore wind for Virginia? Offshore wind can provide clean energy at the scale necessary for Virginia to meet its 100% clean energy goals. As we know, Governor Northam has executed his executive order that calls for 100% clean energy goals to be clean energy by 2050, and to really confront the climate crisis that we in Norfolk know full well of the impacts of the climate crisis, so that we can confront that crisis head on. Offshore wind also provides a renewable energy source that creates massive economic development opportunities and thousands of family supporting jobs for Virginians. Next.
Hey, Charlie, I'm interrupting because a lot of people are chatting that we're not getting the slides. This is Tom Reel. I'm E6400.
Okay.
Pardon the interruption, as the TV show says, but
no.
You might be getting it on your screen, but I don't think the rest of us are.
All right, I'm going to do the stop share, and then I'm going to go back into share screen. And it's supposedly to be up there. Anything?
Better.
Yes. Can you go back one?
I can. I'm sorry. I thought it was up there.
I'm muting. Thank you.
There you go.
They're unmuted for a great reason. Thank you, Tom.
All right. Well, this slide here is Bremerhaven in Germany, and this is one that I really get excited about showing to folks, especially in the Hampton Roads areas, because this is what we can look like. Fun fact is the fact that each wind turbine is made up of over 8,000 parts, and many of those parts, those 8,000 parts, can be manufactured in Virginia, a lot of them right here in Hampton Roads. We have a tremendous amount of assets that make us very competitive and very capable of being a mid-Atlantic hub for a lot of the manufacturing that goes into manufacturing any one of those 8,000 parts, especially the larger parts, the big steel parts. We have a deep water port. We have a world-class shipbuilding and maritime industries. There's a lot of parallel skill sets that go into both of those, working in marine environments. These are very harsh offshore areas that there's a lot of the marine fabrication and the manufacturing and the welding and all those kinds of things that are very parallel to the industries that we are doing right now. And we do have a ready-made workforce that would easily enable us to be a major East Coast hub and a leader in the offshore wind industry. Next. Researchers have concluded, and this includes researchers from the Virginia Economic Development Alliance, along with a number of a coalition of our Virginia-based universities, have concluded that with full build out of the industry, which means the manufacturing and also the construction, maintenance, and operations of offshore wind, we can create as many as 14,000 jobs. These are high-paying jobs. These are local jobs. These are career-length jobs that can employ everyone from high school and college graduates to military veterans, allowing our Hampton Roads community to diversify our economy, which is extremely important, not to be so dependent on any one industry, and create more and higher paid jobs. Coupling our robust network with community colleges and world-class universities and labor apprenticeships with investments in workforce development, offshore wind can provide job opportunities for a broad swath of Virginians, including low-income communities, communities of colors, and veterans transitioning into the civilian workforce. Next. So what Virginia brings to the table, this is a very busy slide, and I don't expect that you can really drill down into it, but it kind of illustrates all the different uses. We have been working offshore wind since 2009. There is a lot that goes on in our ocean, as you can only imagine. It's not only the stakeholders, hundreds of stakeholders have been involved, but also climate activists have been involved with this, including representatives from the military, environmental interest groups, the shipping and the fishing industries. We've all worked together to make sure that we have identified an area that is cleared of conflicts, that will not present any problem to any of the industries, and that everybody is on board. We've also preliminarily cleared it for all the environmental impacts. We are concerned for marine mammals and also for birds, but we'll be very careful about siting wind turbines and putting moratoriums on certain periods of time when the right whale, for instance, is migrating through the area. And then also with our turbines off the Virginia coast being 25 to 27 miles off our coast, there is bird migration tends to hug closer to the coast, so there's a minimum of impact to birds. And I also, giving a shout out to Councilwoman Andre McClellan and Councilman Martin Thomas. We're very excited about all the localities. All the jurisdictions in Hampton Roads, along with the HRPDC, have all had resolutions supporting drilling. So there isn't, I can't identify a single entity out there that has any issue with offshore wind. So it's very exciting. Everybody's on the page, same page. More folks, than are very excited about the job opportunities, the economic development, but hopefully folks getting just as excited about being able to bring this clean energy line online that is capable of really generating 50 to 60% of our electricity by 2050. Next slide. Now, right off the coast, by the end of this year, Dominion is starting construction on the CVOW project. CVOW stands for the Coastal Virginia Offshore Wind Project. This is a demonstration project. This is 2 turbines, 2 6-megawatt turbines that will be, like I said, about 27 miles off our coast, and at least a research area that was given over to the Department of Mines, Minerals, and Energy. Has this research lease. Dominion has an agreement with the state to develop these 2 turbines, and they have partnered very smartly. Dominion has partnered with Ørsted, a Danish company, to construct these 2 turbines. This will be the first project, Virginia can stand very proud. This will be the very first project in federal waters. This is a big deal. There's only one other wind turbine wind farm in the United States, and it's off Block Island, off of Rhode Island, but that is in state waters, which is very close to the state waters. The line for state waters is between state and federal is 3 miles out. So 3 miles out is state waters. Anything beyond 3 miles is federal waters. So our project being 27 miles off our coast is in the federal waters. This is the first, there will be 1 million lessons learned that Dominion will take and Ørsted will take away from this. and but in informing the future projects. And we will be first in line, or we're going to be one of the larger commercial lease projects coming online starting in 2026. I'll get to that in a little bit, but I did want to give you this idea of just the size of these turbines. This is an ODU student had done this graphic here. This is how large these structures are. This is one of the CVAL turbines. It is 100 feet taller than the Weston Town Center in Virginia Beach, which is, I've learned, is Virginia's tallest building. So there you have it. These wind turbines are going to be 100 feet taller than the tallest building in Virginia. The next slide.
I anticipated that.
I'm sorry?
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right, so this is a map showing just exactly the commercial lease area. You can see the smaller one that is there. Hopefully you can see this. There's a small little square that's sort of to the left of the gray patch there. That is the test turbine area. That's the research lease where the 2 turbines are going to go. The larger squares that are the gray squares, that's the entire commercial lease area that Dominion bought the lease rights for back in 2013. They bought that from the federal government. And as you could see, that's adjacent to the test turbine project. So you can see that the 2 test turbine projects are going to be extremely informative as far as just how to set something up out there in the coastal area, be very informative to our development of the commercial lease area. Dominion has announced that it plans to develop that commercial lease area in 3 phases for a total of 2,600 megawatts. The first phase will come on in 2024, and then 2025, and then 2026 when they'll finish up and have the full 2,600 megawatts online. That will be enough power to light up 650,000 homes, all by 2026. So very, very exciting. Next slide. Again, this gives you a sense of the scale and the size of these things. And I like to point out the fact that this the CVAL project is a 6 megawatt machine. They're already in the ground right now in Europe. Mainly, there are already 8 megawatt machines. And we are already thinking about for the Dominion project out the commercial lease area, those will be 12 megawatt machines. And Dominion has recently announced that they have a preferred provider. They are going to go with Siemens Gamesa. For those turbines, there'll be 12 megawatt machines. So that'll be twice the output. So something to consider about the bigger the machine, the fewer you need to build. So you do bring down costs when you have the fewer. There's greater economies and efficiencies with the larger turbines going out off the coast. The next slide. And this is a slide from Siemens Gamesa. I do want to say a word about Siemens Gamesa. They are a huge blade manufacturer. They are the ones that put their names on those blades and produce those big turbine parts. Those turbine blades are, even the smaller 6 megawatts are larger than football fields. They're just gigantic. Tremendous amount of steel goes into those. And Siemens Gamesa recently during the General Assembly session supporting a bill that Delegate Cliff Hayes had, made the announcement that they are making serious consideration of setting up shop in Virginia. So that was very, very big news. The state has had this approach. DMME is the department that works on offshore wind, have had the approach of wanting to be very strategic with the economic development. You know, and when I talk about the 8,000 parts and trying to have Hampton Roads be the manufacturing hub, we're talking about our economic development folks who are going out there and trying to sell Virginia, trying to sell all those assets, our deep water port, our ready workforce, our maritime industries. So they're going out in there and selling it. And it's so exciting to see that, you know, yes, Siemens Gamesa is about to bite. And the state is, especially with something as large as a a turbine blade manufacturer, the approach, the economic development strategic approach has been to like try to land an anchor tenant. It's like getting a Neiman Marcus into a shopping mall or something. You get that big kahuna in there, and the hope is that also the other smaller parts manufacturing will come and want to be, close by the proximity. And that is just big, really big news that that Siemens is making this commitment. So we're really excited to continue partnering with them. They yeah, it's just really exciting. I mean, Dominion, I mean, it's hard for a Sierra Club person to really, because we have such, issues with Dominion and some of their focus on, frack gas and pipelines and stuff. But with offshore wind, just so excited about those decisions that they've made with partnering with Ørsted, number one, and then partnering or contracting with Siemens Gamesa for these blades. So that's really, really huge news. So next slide. So I'll finish up there, and I would be happy to entertain any of your questions, but a couple things I did want to just point out quickly. Just by way of explanation, I perhaps should have said this at the very outset, but in case folks don't know a lot about Sierra Club is a grassroots advocacy organization. And what that means is we're an advocacy organization in that we are trying to move policy. We are all about lobbying for legislation, lobbying and working for, to get policy changes, to get things on the books. And we're also all about holding our elected officials accountable and trying to move the envelope there. We're not an organization that will necessarily go out there and sponsor stream cleanups or recycling efforts like that. We are an advocacy organization. Our power is in our people and moving the right decisions and moving decision makers as an advocacy organization. And we're very, we've been working for many years, like I said, with offshore wind stakeholder groups and are really, really happy with a lot of the progress that Governor Northam has made. I just want to, at the outset, just, commend the governor and his administration for their huge commitment to offshore wind and making it happen. I would just point out the governor's 2018 Virginia Energy Plan, including 2,000 megawatts of offshore wind to be developed by 2028. His executive order 43, which will have a lot of implications to our work coming up pretty soon, because that executive order called for 2,500 megawatts of offshore wind to be developed by 2026. And he also called on his state department, the DMME, to develop a plan for generating that 100% clean energy by 2050. And he's also tapped DMME to also develop a clean energy workforce development plan, which I think is really, really critical, and one where we really want to play a part, each of us as citizens in, especially the Hampton Roads area, to make sure that that clean energy workforce development plan is as robust and diverse as possible, that it's a community plan that goes out into our low-income communities and has a plan for enrolling students into community college programs, enrolling students into labor apprenticeship programs, retooling a lot of our veteran population coming home and wanting to shift careers. And just making sure that that is one that's really promoted, and that enrollment numbers in all the different programs and certificate programs is very robust and very diverse, and lifts folks out of poverty, because like I said, these are well-paying jobs, and these are jobs that are really around the corner. Finally, we appreciate that the governor signing into law just this Saturday night, the Virginia Clean Economy Act, which among a number of other provisions declares 5,200 megawatts of offshore wind to be in the public interest. And anybody paying attention is like, oh, wow, 5,200 megawatts. That's more than what Dominion plans to build, which is a good segue into talking about how much more it's how much more offshore wind really does have such tremendous capacities to really get us to the point of being 50 to 60% of our power source. Because right about 25 miles south of our Virginia wind project is the Kitty Hawk project that Avangrid is developing in North Carolina. That will tie in to the grid in Virginia, and certainly anything that we are producing in our ports, any offshore wind industry will also be not only serving the Northeast that's going on, but also serving the Kitty Hawk projects and any project south of us too. So I'll end there, and I'd love to entertain any questions.
We got a couple of minutes allocated for Eileen here. I have Grant Deppen has a question, and Grant.
So when you're talking about the 50 to 60% of the energy, are you talking about within Virginia, the region, or what kind of geographic location are you talking about there?
It would be collectively for the entire Atlantic coast if you average out all the energy generation. Unfortunately for Virginia, or maybe it could be fortunate, we have a limited amount of real estate off our coast. It's funny the way, I mean, it's great when we consider offshore drilling that we have just this limited administrative borders when you, the administrative boundaries that the federal government has set for what is the state's territory. They do that mainly just for revenue sharing, but we have very limited area, and the little limited area that we do have has a lot of conflict. There's a lot of operations with the military, but that's not to say that we couldn't expand offshore wind. But when I say 50 to 60%, I'm talking about collectively all the generation that goes into the grid, so that Virginia, ratepayers would be pulling that down, but it might be wind that's generated from off the coast of Massachusetts or off the coast of any other Atlantic coast state.
Thank you.
All right. Randy, did your question get answered?
Yes, it did.
Okay, because I saw your hand up there. All right. Well, Eileen, thank you very much, because I think we all know that, the work you guys do on getting clean energy, getting to a green economy with offshore wind, and more importantly, offshore wind hub coming right in through Hampton Roads, besides being good environmental policy, is incredible economic development policy for Hampton Roads.
And Charlie, if I can add, because of the fact that Delegate Jay Jones is on the phone, one of the issues that we have with offshore wind is the price. And this is going to be really critical for us to work with our legislators to ensure that this price is coming on fairly and equitable, because we do not want an unfair burden placed on Virginia's ratepayers, and it's going to be a really, really big challenge. I don't know if Delegate Jones wants to speak more to that.
Charlie, can you hear me?
Yep, you're up. Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Eileen. That was a great presentation, and I think you're right. I mean, I think if anybody kept up with the legislative session this year, you'll know that it was very important to me and a lot of my colleagues that we ensure that while we are doing everything we can to move towards a greener and cleaner future here as it relates to our energy production, that we don't want to put that burden onto the ratepayer. And so it has been my stance, and will continue to be, that the SCC, the State Corporation Commission, needs to have rigorous oversight over these projects. And it's nothing against Dominion in particular, but we just want to make sure that while we're going ahead and getting into this wind project and some of these other aspects of the Virginia Clean Economy Act, which is the broader bill that this was also encompassed in, is that we are not sort of over charging and overburdening the average consumer for this, for anything that any costs that come about because of that. And so I think you'll see on an annual basis, on a rolling basis, that we'll do all we can to make sure that we're protecting the ratepayer, because we want to move towards a greener and cleaner future, but it can't be on the backs of the folks who can't afford it at all.
Yeah, and one of the things that will drive down the price is domestic production. As it is right now, those 2 test turbines will be European parts, European labor largely. That can't continue. And as we develop that American supply chain, you'll see costs dramatically come down. So that's another element of price, is just making sure that we get those parts American made. Thank you.
All right, Eileen, thank you very much for the presentation. Can I have one of those? You were caught. But all right, and again, thanks for being a great member of the Norfolk City Democratic Committee. All right, next up, we have our executive reports. Treasurer, Barbara, you unmuted? Barbara? Okay, if Barbara is not in, she has mailed, obviously, the minutes of our last meeting. And if nobody raises their hand or has a question about those minutes, we will consider them approved by acclamation. And 3, 2, 1, I do not see anything, so we will consider that approved. Treasurer's report, Grant. There's our little cha-ching. There's our treasurer's report. If you want to take it away. All right, got to unmute you. Where'd you go?
I'm good.
There you go. All right.
All right. So this month we had some expenses relating to the primary election that went on before all this chaos happened. So we did some printing related to some sample ballots. We also paid for the little reception that we had on the Tuesday of the primary. So those were our costs that were related to that. And that was relatively straightforward. First of the month, we had a balance of $9,756.95 with deposits over $750 and withdrawals about $820 or so dollars, leading us with an ending balance of $9,692.39, which is perfect and where we wanted to be. What we reported to the SBE this month, we had about $700 worth of dues, around $70 of in-kind donations. That was Charlie donating the Facebook advertising that we have going on social media right now. And then the expenses, as I said, printing and food, fees to ActBlue, and then reimbursements to Charlie for the sample ballots that went out there. So that was right where we are with the bank account and everything. And then we also filed our first quarter reports to the Virginia SBE of all the transactions, whether that's income or disbursements that we've had over the first quarter of this year. And that went in last night, and so we're ready to go there.
All right. If there are any questions about the report, let me see your blue hands there. And if there are no questions, Grant, thank you very much for keeping us straight with the State Board of Elections. And again, not seeing that there are any questions, we will go ahead and take them as approved. Toy, you have anything you wanted to add as the vice chair of the committee? And let me unmute you. There you go. Hold on, Toy. Hold on. You're not coming through. I don't know if that's your microphone. Let me do this, and let me unmute you. All right, try that again. Can anybody hear that? Now, Toy, I don't know what's going on, but you got a bad mic situation. Now. Now, yeah. We may have to get a new microphone for you. Give you a couple more seconds.
Can you hear me okay?
Boy, it's hardly, you can hardly make you out. 3. No, no.
Charlie, maybe she can call you and you can put her on a speakerphone.
I could certainly try that. You want to give it a shot, Atoy? Hopefully she has my phone number.
Put her Zoom on mute. Put her Zoom on mute.
All right, give it a shot, Atoy. Oh, she's gone. I tell you what, Atoy, when we get this figured out, whether you're going to call back in, we have a little technological glitch there. We'll come back to you if we can make it work. I just got a couple of things to say on my chair's report. First off, I want to thank everybody who filed to be delegates to the 2nd and the 3rd Congressional District Conventions. We have a little bit more on it later, but I will let you know Norfolk led the way. We overfiled for all of our allocations, so way to go. The only other thing, if you recall from one of the first meetings we had, I really wanted to step up our social media presence. We are having some success with that. We are penetrating the Norfolk audience more. We put up a thing about voting absentee that got 95 shares and all kinds of likes. So we are making some progress, and even in Instagram, which I knew nothing about, and we've gotten some action and activity on that. So we're going to continue to try and penetrate that social media market to raise the presence and the name identification of the Norfolk City Democratic Committee. And Grant has been doing a great job. He's been doing some very effective posts on Twitter, so I want to thank him for that. So we're real happy with that. Whoops. Oh, I missed you, Scott. Raise that hand again. I missed you. You had a question on that? Scott Harris? Or was that hand raised for something else?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah. What you got?
Oh, okay. I just unmuted myself. So
okay.
I was looking over the proposed changes to the bylaws.
That's coming up.
Okay. And
right.
I had a question about that. Maybe you should.
All right. When we get to that point, we'll take care of that. It's coming up in the agenda.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. And then the only other thing I wanted to pass on is I am working, and we are going to be working through the area chairs. I'm putting together the precinct operation manual for all of our precinct captains. That manual is going to contain vital data, grassroots information, possible volunteers. We're going to have it broken down so that my vision is that every precinct captain and a precinct captain we have will have a slew of potential volunteers to reach out to, and more importantly, break our precincts down 4, 5, 6, 7 ways. Call them block captains, if you will. But that's coming out. I'm starting to print some of that information now. So be on the lookout for those precinct manuals, because again, that's what I'm looking for our operations at that level, is really engaging and energizing Democrats precinct by precinct, block by block. And area chairs for those precincts right now where we don't have a precinct captain, we're going to be working very hard in the next few weeks or month to make sure we, in fact, get them all done. Because if Norfolk turns out, we're going to do fine. We're going to get Joe Biden's our electoral votes. We'll get Mark Warner over the finish line, Bobby and Elaine, and do all that kind of stuff. And we are going to figure out, we have some campaign information coming shortly. We are going to figure out a way to get this thing done under our current COVID-19 conditions. We're going to have to adapt and get better and figure out new ways to campaign and engage. But we're going to get there because, as we all know, losing this fall is certainly not an option. Moving on then. I already got there. All right. Committee reports. Randy, if you can unmute yourself. We have some members to vote on and approve. And
Yes.
there they are. Randy, take it away.
Well, as you can see, the chair and the executive committee have approved 11 new associates this month. You can see them listed there. And we have two applications for at-large membership that the membership committee is moving, that the full committee elect. They are both from Chrysler Precinct, Jamila La Cruz and Kenia Haro Perez.
All right. And again, we have vetted all of these. And Tim Rothgeb, because I know how much you like this, if you want to go ahead and make the motion to approve.
He only needs to make a second. The motion
Okay.
comes from the membership committee.
Gotcha. All right, very good. Tim Rothgeb is seconding. And if anybody has a problem with this vetted list, raise your hand. And in the absence of seeing any problems with that, we will by unanimous vote approve these new members. And if you are on the call, I could double check some of those members. Thank you very much. And we're going to ask for your active participation in the committee business going forward. So going backwards, and these are a couple of boxes on my house. I still haven't found a finance chair. So I need to get on that. We need to raise some money so we can do a lot more things and have the funds to do that. And obviously under COVID-19, a lot of our outreach and events, there's not much to report on there. If Megan and Carolyn does have something they want to add, feel free to unmute yourself. Okay, and again, we can only look forward to the times when we can
Charlie,
be.
this is
Yes.
Carolyn. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Carolyn.
Yeah, so for right now, all the events are on hold. I think everyone's kind of aware that we won't be doing a picnic at this, a cookout in June at this point. Hopefully we'll be able to do something later on in the summer, maybe early fall, so that doesn't conflict with some of the other events. Maybe some happy hours or something along those lines. So no surprise, but yeah, we won't be having the cookout.
Right.
At least in June or July.
Yeah, understood. And, we are all adopting, so, or adapting, I mean.
Exactly.
All right. And there are no new resolutions for Dave, outreach activities. Betty, did you get in on the call? There you are. Betty, you probably, let me unmute you. There you go, you're on there.
Okay.
I don't know what you can do in this situation on the voter registration, but let us know.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Of course, we are constantly looking for ideas on how to do outreach for absentee voting. There's a proposal from Governor Northam to move the May 5th general election to November 3rd. This proposal will require approval by the General Assembly, which will be convening April 22nd. The deadline for those that haven't requested their absentee ballot yet is April 28th by 5 p.m. So if you haven't done so, go ahead and request your absentee ballot. that's it. And again, if you have any ideas on how to do outreach to our seniors to help them get their absentee ballot, not only the request for it, but help, to possibly go there, be a witness for them, help them through the process. And if you can't, give me a call and I will make myself available.
Yeah, because well, you're exactly right. Seniors are the ones who most likely might have a digital problem being able to do things like online and ordering ballots. I know our Stephanie Isles at the city council meeting last night, I think she said 3,700 ballots have been requested thus far. So if you haven't done it, do it. Because until things change, we're still going to have our election in May, pending General Assembly weighing in.
Okay, that's all
Thanks,
I have.
Betty. Yep. All right. Thanks for all you're doing.
You're welcome.
All right. A little bit of the old business we have.
Charlie?
Yes, sir.
I had my hand raised, but I guess you didn't recognize me.
All right. Go ahead. What you got?
There were two things on the having to do with the absentee ballots that I'm going to tell you what I'm doing, and if other people want to, do the same, that would be great. As you know, I have collected emails from people in my precinct, and I've emailed out the absentee ballot procedure and website to everyone, which is 160 or so people in my precinct. I've had one contact me, and I've tried to assist them with getting their absentee ballot, because it can be a little tricky if you click the wrong thing and it's not always clear what you're clicking. They tell you you have to print it out, which I won't go into great detail now. But the point is that I'm emailing out to everyone in my precinct the information. The other thing I've tried to start, although I haven't had much success on it, I've tried to start a Twitter feed, or whatever they call it, where I've tweeted out and asked people to retweet the information for absentee ballots, and I've asked if other people were not, from Virginia, to look up the information in their state.
Right.
And also I've put a hashtag, I don't remember exactly, but it's like hashtag Virginia absentee ballot or something like that. I can send you that information. I can send you a copy of the tweet. And if other people want to follow me, and I'm just at Tim Rothgeb, and then retweet my tweet, that would be great. But I'm trying to get it out to as many people as I can, and the information. So those were my two ideas so far.
All right, Tim. As always, appreciate it. Barbara Clear, what you got?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Good. Okay, I got it fixed. I realized I was listening. I could hear the whole thing, but you didn't see my hand raised. All right, so for the bylaw changes, our bylaws require that they be discussed at one meeting and then simply voted on at the next meeting.
Right.
Because we are not 100% with our technology for the Zoom meeting, and we just now upgraded to an account where we could actually do voting, I went ahead and mailed out the bylaws changes to every voting member. And we got back a unanimous, more than 50% vote yes for approval.
All right.
So I want to thank everybody who did reply, and to those of you who did not reply, I'm going to poke my finger at you.
Okay.
So we have then before us to, I guess, maybe have a voice vote or whatever, or I know Scott Harris had a question, maybe we could listen to that, even though we're just supposed to be voting tonight.
Right, right. Scott, did you have something you wanted to weigh in? Which, by the way, as part of explanation for everybody, what we have decided to do is
Oh, I forgot that part.
is elevate the position of our voter registration person from a standing ad hoc, or from an ad hoc committee to a standing committee, which elevates them in importance in the executive board. We just think, obviously, voter registration is one of the core things we want to always do. So that's what that approved by law change is all about. And let me see, Scott, did you have something?
Yeah, this might be for Betty. Now, what I had noticed, and I'm glad to hear that those changes were adopted. But my question is there's this news that has been out that Governor Norfolk is going to make voter registration automatic and vote day a national holiday. Does this apply to anything that we're talking about here?
Might make Betty's job easier, but go ahead.
No, that doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about currently.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the pool of potential unregistered voters would shrink if we had a form of automatic voter registration. That's for sure. But you know,
so then I assume that what this is at this time, this is something that's being considered by the governor, or we're not. You know, is this something that just has to do with our committee and with the Democratic committee?
No. I think Jay jumped off the call. He had another 8 o'clock call he had to run to. You know, the voting things were passed by the General Assembly, and the governor signed them into law in the last several days. A number of ease of voting, things like no excuse absentee, expanded early voting, and things like that. So yeah, those have moved forward.
Voter ID. Voter ID.
And thank you, Bobby, and the removal of photo ID. So there's a number of things that your votes and your efforts electing a Democratic governor and General Assembly have done to end the Republican war on voting. So,
right. Charlie?
Yes.
Another very important thing that Betty does is to help people who were convicted of a felony and were then released, of helping them get their voting rights restored. Yeah. So that is a process that sometimes needs assistance, and Betty helps with that just as much as she does voter registration drives.
Yeah.
And actually,
she does the Lord's work. Go ahead, Betty.
And on that note, the Reentry Council of Norfolk, we had planned a town hall for June. I think that's going to be postponed, but that will be, the town hall was taking place at one of the local prisons. And we did a survey of different prisons, including local jails that came from inmates, and they gave priorities on what they would like to discuss at these town halls in the institution. And they, at the top of their list was reentry and voter restoration. And so I have been in touch with the Secretary of the Commonwealth. Susan Anton is the person who facilitates restoration of rights, and we will have her on the panel to come into the jails, to prison, to talk about restoration of rights. So it's something I'm very passionate about, and will continue to work towards that effort. He mentioned too, the second part of his question had to deal with election, November being a holiday.
Right.
And I think that only applies to state employees in terms of having a day off.
Right.
So, and that will be, I believe, this November, right? It will be in effect this November.
Yep.
Charlie, this is Veronica. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Hi, Veronica.
Just and so in terms of the automatic registration, that relates to the DMV. So if you go to the DMV, that's my understanding of that.
Okay.
Of that part of this law that was passed,
Okay.
that was signed by the governor. So not everybody is automatically registered, but if you go to the DMV to update your driver, like your driver's license or register a new car, you'll be registered to vote.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, again, it's still good. Wish that everybody, it would make Betty's life a lot easier if everybody was registered. But
We're making progress. We're rowing in the right direction, as they say. All right, appreciate it. All right, one other quick little thing. We approved our area chair plan maps and 5 of our 6 area chairs, but Tony paperwork hadn't been in yet. So again, if there's any problem getting Tony elected as our 6th area chair, put your blue hand up there, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to see any. 3, 2, 1. So Barbara, by unanimous consent, that has been done. All right, moving on. Yes.
No, I just said I got it. We're good to
Okay.
go.
All right, now into the new business. We can have these in short little spurts. Veronica Ingham from Lane Lauria, how are you guys making out?
we're good. Thank you everyone for having me tonight. You just heard from me about voting rights, because that's obviously something we're paying attention to. I would say Elaine sends her best. She's been working really hard to sort of, in this pandemic response, she's working on trying to lower prescription prices for military families and fully fund special education. Obviously, that's something that's really important right now. From a campaign standpoint, we're doing a couple of different things. I'm going to throw this in the Zoom chat if you're interested in getting involved. The first thing we're doing is community check-in calls. So we are calling our neighbors and seeing how they're doing. Normally we'd call them and ask them to vote for Elaine or volunteer, but we didn't really feel like that was appropriate right now. It's more of a conversation of how are you doing? And we have a list of resources we can provide folks with if they need to reach our district office or something like that. And then the second thing is we're going to be having on Friday night, I will send a link to this as well in our chat. We'll be having a digital strategy session. We wanted to hear from you guys about what you think we should be doing online, because that's a really important part of this campaign right now, especially if this isn't going to end anytime soon. We should be thinking strategically about how we're talking to voters online. And so we can share with you some of the ideas that we have, and then also hear from you guys about your ideas. And then the last thing I want to say is we have a new field director, very exciting. Her name is Medea. She's actually on the line. So I think, Charlie, you should be able to unmute her so she can introduce
herself here.
I think you can unmute yourself, Medea, and just introduce yourself. Very exciting, and she'll be reaching out to some of you. Betty, I'm sure she'll call you so you guys can talk about registering voters. Very exciting.
All right, Medea, you're unmuted.
I am unmuted. Hello, everyone. My name is Medea. I'm actually calling you guys at 9 a.m. from Japan at the moment. I am a Navy wife and my husband is stationed here. So until the governor thinks it's responsible for me to travel again, I will wait to physically arrive in Virginia. But I am working all afternoons and evenings your time, and I'm excited to get to know you all virtually and meet you in person at some point. And I'm gonna go ahead and send my phone number and email in the chat window here, so feel free to reach out if you don't hear from me in a couple of days. Thanks, everyone.
Well, welcome aboard. Thank you. And hopefully you'll make it back to the States soon. Ryan Jackson, what's going on with Mark Warner's campaign?
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
How are you all doing again? So Senator Warner is definitely focused more on the coronavirus pandemic right now than campaigning, much the same as Elaine Loria. Some of the things that he's done, you know, we've held a lot of constituency calls to hear the issues that's going around the Commonwealth from the campaign side. He has sponsored the Natural Disaster and Emergency Ballot Act, which would expand vote by mail and early voting access across the country. We don't have to worry about that really in Virginia right now because we have a majority, so they address a lot of these issues in the General Assembly. Also, him and Tim Kaine want to support local journalism and media outlets during the pandemic. Farmers in rural community looking to suspending pending foreclosures and issuing loan payment deferrals and some immediate assistance for mortgage servicers. Some other things I heard from Lawrence Brown with the firefighters in Norfolk. So Senator Warner and Senator Kaine reached out to the administration to kind of get that addressed with the PPE, and outline a plan for getting that here in Commonwealth, and how we'll make sure we have the essential equipment our first responders need. So thank you, Lawrence, for reaching out. Otherwise, we are campaigning and we are doing everything virtual, as many campaigns are right now. So we're digital organizing right now. I will drop the link to sign up if you want to digital organize with our field team, a part of the campaign. I just dropped the link in the chat. And also some other things. Senator Warner also provided a donation to 7 of the regional food banks throughout the Commonwealth. So the ones in our area that he donated to was the Virginia Peninsula Food Bank in Hampton, and also Southeastern Virginia and the Eastern Shore. He donated $10,000 apiece to both of those food banks. That's pretty much what we're doing on our end. Senator Warner will host a town hall tomorrow at 4:30 on his Facebook Live from our campaign page. So feel free to tune into that. And that will be more of a Hampton Roads focused town hall. So just tune out for that, and Senator Warner will answer your questions live if you submit them.
Very good. That's excellent. Bobby, if you're still on the call, or Joni, anything you want to add at this time? While we're talking Congress?
I'm still here.
Yes, sir. You got anything? Go ahead.
Yeah, we've been working mostly on the legislation, the CARES Act. What we did last time, the education money has landed. Colleges have gotten millions of dollars, several $1 million from the local colleges each. The checks, the $1,200 checks, a lot of them have landed. So we want to make sure if you haven't gotten a check, go on to irs.gov, the Internal Revenue Service website, and they can tell you how you need to sign up to get it. The things we're working on for next round, first of all, OSHA. Last night, the Department of Labor finally promulgated some regulations to help protect our healthcare workers, but there are a lot of others that also need help. Our first responders, grocery store clerks, TSA agents, shipyard workers, they all need protection from infectious disease, airborne diseases, and we need OSHA to come up with some enforceable regulations. The next deal fell apart because the emergency money for small businesses fell apart because our leadership properly insisted that small businesses aren't the only thing that have problems. We need state and local assistance. The General Assembly is going to come back next week and approve some draconian cuts because the revenues are down billions of dollars. If we can get some support for state and local government, we can avoid those cuts. As chair of the Education and Labor Committee, I can tell you, I expect education to be first on the firing line to get whacked. So anything we can do to get money into education will be a good thing. We need to help the pension funds. A lot of pension funds were kind of on the edge to begin with. Well, a lot of, because the stock market collapsed, a lot of them have fallen over. Those that were in trouble before are in deeper trouble now, so we need that. But there's one thing we need to make sure we do is to get some more money into voting, in the voting process. We don't want to wake up Monday morning and have, in November, and have Trump cancel the election because of some health crisis. We need to make sure we're prepared with money for mail-in voting, more money for early voting, training for election officials for how to deal with infectious diseases, making sure our polling places can accommodate, more space. If you got a small space, get another polling place so people can spread out. Make sure the training is there. We can, if we're ready, we can do it. Charlie, I'm going to send you a clip from MSNBC where Brian Williams showed the Speaker of the House in Wisconsin explain to people how safe the Wisconsin election is, that they didn't want to delay. He was sitting up there dressed head to toe in hazmat dress, mask and everything else, explaining to the people how safe it was. He was at a polling place.
Yeah.
And the problem with that, I'm going to send you that clip so you can send it out to everybody.
I will. Yeah, he looked like he was going into Chernobyl reactor to clean it up.
and you want to know, I mean, what? And they're trying to explain. So these people will do anything.
Yeah.
Thankfully, as you pointed out, they had that election to make sure, with all the voter suppression, reducing the polling places in Milwaukee from 100 down to 5. With all that suppression, they thought they could save their judges. The Supreme Court judge that they tried to protect got beat. And so that was certainly a delight. But we're working, and hopefully we'll have some more money to help people get through this thing. The $1,200 I went through, the VEC is going to, I mean, they're just overloaded, but they're getting some of the money out. And the $600 will go a long way, in addition to the unemployment compensation that people get. Will go a long way in getting people through this crisis.
Appreciate it. Carrie Buchanan, you got a question?
Yes, I wanted to thank Congressman Scott for having his telephone town halls. I think they've been really great in helping keep everyone informed, including myself, of everything that is going on and helping to answer questions. So I wanted to thank you very much for those town halls.
And Tim Rothgeb.
There we go. I'm unmuted. There were two things that have come out. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can see if you can see this or not. You see this thing that says President Trump's coronavirus guidelines. I was quite offended by that. I consider that campaign literature. To me, it would have been appropriate for it to say the CDC guidelines, but to stamp his name on it, I felt was inappropriate. And then today I learned that he's trying to stamp his name on every stimulus check. I'd like Bobby's comments on that. And as everyone knows, I'm hard-headed, so I'll remind Bobby of my idea of some sort of either tax credit or payment for people who actually vote by mail for this election, to try to decrease the number of people actually going to the polls.
Well, on the vote by mail, one of the things we're trying to do is have postage paid so that people don't have to go running around trying to find a stamp before they can vote. And have required to find a stamp is a little bit of poll tax, not enough to, create a constitutional issue, but it's obviously a barrier. That's what we're trying to do. Having his name on the checks actually just validates the fact that he's more interested in what happens in this crisis for him than the effect it has on people. He is so fixated on getting compliments and what his poll numbers are and what his Facebook trends are. He's so fixated on that he's just totally oblivious to the fact that we don't have tests. We haven't had any tests, although he's been saying we've got plenty of tests. They're not there. He says we've got plenty of PPEs. You go in the hospital, they're not there. I mean, everything, and he wants to open things back up without testing. Can't be done. I mean, everything he's done has been directed towards what's in it for him. And sending out the checks with his name on it is just an indication of how, of what's going on. We had, for example, that might send this to you too, Charlie. This federal government has been stealing PPEs. They've been, Colorado, we had a member from Colorado say that they had 5 million masks going to Colorado. Federal government stole them. And then a couple of days later, sent Colorado 1 million of them and had Cory Gardner, the endangered senator up for re-election, take credit for it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of corruption that's going on. And we need to publicize that so people, along with the signature on the checks, to show exactly what this guy thinks about what's going on. We need to just publicize it and make sure people vote.
Right. I appreciate it. As anybody who follows my humorous Facebook page, Trump's signature on that check is the great reason that direct deposit is rather priceless. But anyway, hey, one last question. Arlene Arthur, what you got?
Hi, I'm so glad that Congressman, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sound like a lot of feedback. I'm so glad that Congressman Scott is on this call. There are so many rumors, there's so many things going on out there that you don't really know what's real and what's not real. I hear talk about the U.S. Postal Service running out of funding. Is that true, not true, or what?
Yes, that's true, and that's why Democratic leadership is trying to get a little money in the next package for Postal Service. But the president said he doesn't want to put any money in the Postal Service. He doesn't care if it goes under. I mean, he showed no interest in saving the Postal Service. And so that's just something we're dealing with.
Okay.
And Toy, every time I unmute you, I get horrible feedback and terrible things happening here. I'm sorry, I unmute you and I have to mute you right back. So, sorry. All right, in the future for my area chairs, when we are a little bit more active and involved here, we're gonna get reports on how things are going in each of our areas, recruiting precinct captains and the like. We talked about the May elections a little bit already until the General Assembly tells us otherwise. We are still full steam ahead. Request those absentee ballots. We'll go ahead and send out the link as to how to order them and the excuse you use to be able to get that ballot, but it'll be up to the General Assembly to make any changes. So again, we are electing our 2 members of Super Ward and Council and 2 Super Ward School Board members until differently in May. So reach out to your neighbors, get them ballots, and I'm willing to work with Betty and any ideas we can for some of the elderly and the high rises and assisted living places to try and figure out a way to make sure that they can also get those absentee ballots without violating their space as well. Electoral Board, Barbara?
Hey, Charlie, while Barbara's coming
Or
back.
Michael, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that the website for the absentee ballot request, it has, since it started, now has some helpful information about what to press, which reason to give, and it's gotten a lot more user friendly.
Right.
And as you all said already, right now there is an election in May, and we would like everyone to vote absentee because we don't want to put the voter at risk, and we don't want to put the elections officers at risk, who are mostly all in the high risk group.
Sure.
And also for other reasons. Some of them are, have other medical conditions. But these are people who are often retired and are dedicating themselves to public service, and this is we need to protect them.
All right. Yep. Thank you very much, and thanks for all the work you do and on the Electoral Board.
Charlie, it's Betty.
All right, moving on. Information about where we stand. Oh, what's that?
Charlie, can you hear me?
Yes, Betty.
Okay. I know we're pushing for absentee ballots, but we do want to remind all seniors who don't have access to the computer that there will be curbside voting at these precincts. It might be a last minute push just so people won't get caught up on waiting until the last day or election day, but we do want to reach out to those that didn't do absentee voting to remind them that they can do curbside voting. If they're a senior or disabled, they can still come out to the poll, their precincts, and every precinct will be open.
And also, you know, the city, the office, the elections office, you know, is in touch with pretty much every senior living facility and nursing home, assisted living, and they already are doing a lot of outreach there to get everyone doing absentee ballots.
All right, Barbara? Did you get your sound fixed, Barbara?
Maybe not.
Yeah. Michael, you did such a good job. Maybe not. Toy, I'm going to give it one more shot. That hand keeps coming up. Let's see what we got. Toy? It ain't happening. We'll figure it out. I don't know what's going on. All right.
Can Toy perhaps put her question in the chat?
Yeah, feel free to get going in the chat bar.
Charlie?
Yes, Barbara, there you are.
Yeah, I did it. Somehow I got muted again. I just wanted to add that for the May elections, it still really is up in the air. Last night, council passed a resolution pretty much saying, please don't move it to November. Asking if that we can have it in May, but just have one precinct open. I think if we had to open every precinct, we would not have enough election officials, and we would not be able to handle curbside because everyone would want to do curbside. They've also asked that if the election could be held before July the 1st, sometime in May. I don't know how that would work because it's so close to the new June 23rd primary, which will not affect us because it's a Republican-only primary in Norfolk. But and also when the governor amended or sent back the change to move May to November, he did it in the budget bill, and lots of people are saying that he can't do that in a budget bill. So we may not know until April 22nd, which is the reconvened session, as to what's going to happen in May. It is totally up in the air.
Yes, and that resolution, they did call it, and the council did call on the General Assembly to leave us alone. So,
and that's one of the reasons why it's so important for everyone to try to vote absentee ahead of time, because if we end up having a situation where there's one precinct, sort of a main vote center, probably make her happy than at City Hall as a drive-through. You know, we don't want to have you have to wait in line and then have to interact with officers.
And believe me, we don't want local news having the city of Norfolk look like Wisconsin. So, yeah. All right.
So it's just everyone just be flexible.
Yeah, that's right. And follow the news. All right. Moving on. Kind of what I had intimated at the outset. We will caucus in Norfolk, but they will be the online, non-in-person caucuses, both for the second and national district. The delegates for Bernie Sanders need to be elected. There was, Marianne, I know you were interested in this. There was about twice as many in the 3rd Congressional District that filed for Bernie So there will be whatever that number is. I lost here, but anyway, there's a half the number. So that caucus will be done. We're at it. The Democratic Party of Virginia is doing all that. From what I understand, every participant is going to get a unique code to be able to do their votes. So there's no hacking in and stuff like that. But so in the second and the third, we are going to be caucusing through the state. And the Joe Biden delegates, although we filed more than our allocation, again, way to go Norfolk, because some of the communities did not fill their allotment, they took our overage, slide them in, so everybody who filed as a Joe Biden delegate in the second and the third, I'm sure you've gotten an email confirming it, will be a delegate to the online second and third congressional district conventions, where we will go ahead and elect national delegates and electors and whatever other business comes before the committee. Any questions on that? If you did register as a participant or a delegate, again, that information is not coming from me. It's coming from the DPVA. So if there are problems with it, I'll be more than happy to be your facilitator answering and asking questions, but we're out of it. And seeing no questions.
Yes, Charlie.
Yeah, Bobby.
What is the district convention elects district delegates? Norfolk will elect delegates to the national convention, and will elect delegates to the state convention. Is that right?
Well, yeah, it's a three-step process. Ultimately going to Milwaukee. The caucuses, which the Bernie ones will be doing, are to elect delegates to the congressional district conventions. So,
well, have people pre-filed to be delegates to the national convention?
That process is ongoing. To be honest, I'm not sure what the deadline is. I have that slide in the queue here. I can bring that up. But yes, people are in the process of filing to try and be elected at the Congressional District Convention to be elected to the Milwaukee National Convention. And that'll, of course, be a
Is that filing period still open?
Yes, it
Yes.
is. I think the last
Bobby,
I knew, yeah.
this is Barbara. It is 12, I believe, it is 12 days before the district convention.
Right.
That ends the filing deadline to be a national delegate.
So in the third congressional district, let's just say you better get it in before May 1st. And it might actually be 30 days after September, whatever. But yeah, we got another couple of weeks open for the third, and maybe 3 weeks open in the second to file as a national delegate or alternate.
Well, you elect delegates on the district level. Is Norfolk going to have a separate convention, or will it be just the third congressional district meeting somewhere and the second congressional district meeting somewhere?
Right. Both of those congressional district conventions will be done online, similar to this. So
But there won't be a Norfolk. There will not be a Norfolk mass meeting.
no, there's nothing in person happening for Bernie
No,
Sanders.
no. I mean, there won't be a Norfolk virtual meeting. It'll be the lowest level will be on the district level.
For Joe Biden, correct. For Bernie Sanders, there is an overage of applicants for those delegate spots. So we are going to have an online caucus. Again, I believe it's Saturday. Voting will go from noon Saturday until 7 p.m. Monday for the participants to choose who they want to be the delegates to go to the congressional, second and third congressional district convention as Bernie delegates. But the Biden slots are for Norfolk are done. They've moved in, and we're going to have a little bit more say than we were supposed to have because of our overage of filing.
Charlie?
Yes. That's him.
Do you need to file separately for the national delegates?
Yes.
Okay.
You go to the DPVA website, right on the top of it, they have the information there, and one of their links is to file as a national delegate or alternate. I can tell you, going by memory, I should have it written down here. The 3rd Congressional District, here it is, will be sending, no, that's at the convention. We have 4 female and 3 male national delegates who will be elected out of the 3rd, and 1 male alternate. And in the 2nd, I forget what that ratio is in the 2nd. I think it's like 6.
Second, it's 5 total delegates,
Right.
4 Biden, 1 Bernie.
And the male-female allocation for the.
I think that if I remember correctly, the male-female was like 3 male, 2 female.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm sorry I don't have that down. I had the 3rd in my brain. So yeah, that's it. So 7 total delegates out of the 3rd, between Biden and Sanders, and but yeah. So if you have an interest in going to Milwaukee, you got to be elected.
Assuming we're going to Milwaukee, they're still talking.
That's correct as well.
And personally, I think we should hold a virtual, but I hope the Republicans hold the in-person one.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's where we are.
Right. The state convention was an in-person state convention was canceled last night by the state steering committee, so that will be virtual also.
Yeah, I didn't know if I could announce that or not. So.
Well, they didn't say to hold it. The problem also is that the Richmond Convention Center has been turned into a temporary hospital.
That's probably a good disincentive. You're right. So yeah, so that's where we are. So again, way to go, Norfolk. We overfiled, but we got our Bernie folks seated. And I know Mariana and some of the other ones who are devoted.
Don't you mean Biden folks seated and the Bernie's still up in the air?
Yes, I misspoke. Yeah, but I was thinking of Mariana because I hope she gets elected because she was so passionate, such a good member of our committee and so passionate for Bernie. I really hope she gets it. So that's kind of an informal endorsement for what that's worth, Mariana.
Thank you so much.
And all right, getting to the finish line here. If there's no more questions, yes.
You missed 2 things.
Hold a timeout. I got an iPhone question here. Whoever is iPhone with a hand up, I got you unmuted.
Hello?
There you go.
Okay. You hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Terry Ann Taylor in Norfolk, Virginia. I need for someone to come over because in my building that I live in, they have no idea as to what is going on with the absentee ballots.
Where do you live, Miss Taylor?
5920 Popular, Poplar, Hall, the second word, Hall, Drive.
Mm-hmm.
And I am in apartment E304. That's Norfolk, Virginia, 23502.
All right, but how many people are needing assistance at that apartment complex?
There are 84 units here. And when I had the petition signed for Congressman Scott, I had 42 of them.
All right.
Charlie, I'll connect her up with Betty.
Okay, yeah, we will do what we can, Miss Taylor, to try and reach out to you and to that facility so we can get absentee ballots in their hands.
Okay.
All right.
And also, yeah, Ms. Taylor, would you find out if there are any restrictions for people coming in from the outside to set up? Because I can plan to come and stay for a couple of hours if
they will not, because of the outbreak, they will not let you come in and, you know, set up because the activity room, everything, we on lockdown around here.
Yeah.
But you can get in contact with me, which I can get in contact with the tenants
Okay.
So I have to talk to my manager about that tomorrow because I will have to walk the hallways with you.
Yeah. Okay, let's figure out how to get it to happen.
Okay. All right. I'll work
Wait,
with you.
you can reach me at 757-559-6150.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Taylor. We're going
Thank
to do
you.
what we can for all those folks. Appreciate it.
Charlie, I'll say it again. If you follow me on Twitter, you can check my previous tweets, and I have sent out the link for absentee ballots.
Okay. Very good. So wrapping it up.
Charlie,
Yes.
Charlie, we've got 2 pieces of new business we need to take care of.
What did I miss?
We need to elect Betty and Randy.
That's okay. You're right. Okay. Changes in. We had changes. The Carolyn De Palma needed to move to another function as our events coordinator, creating an opening for our membership. And Randy, of course, gave the report early. Randy has asked to fill that position. Nobody on the executive board had a problem. We appreciate Randy's involvement in the committee. So you're right, I didn't put that on the agenda. So I guess we can do the same thing. We need to elect Randy as our chair of our membership committee. And if there's any heartache or problems with that, I'm looking for those blue hands up here.
So moved.
So moved. Seconded. All right.
Second.
There you go. All right. Anybody, I'm going to do the reverse. Anybody who's opposed, raise that blue hand. And anybody, so there we go. We're all good to go. Well, congratulations, Randy, on moving into the membership. And the other position, Barbara, was?
Betty. She's now official.
All right. Right. Okay. I guess I assumed the bylaws just slid her up there. I didn't think we had to.
No, all we did was approve the make it a standing committee.
All right.
The
Well, okay.
executive committee approved. Right. The executive committee approved her as the chair.
Yeah. I thought her prior approval moved with the upgrade. So we're going to do the same. Approved committee as our
so moved.
Volunteer. There we go. I hear seconded. Any blue hands up there opposed to Betty in that position? 3, 2, 1. The voting is closed. It's by unanimous. Congratulations, Betty. You've been elevated and continue the good work you're doing. Yay.
Charlie,
Yay.
Yes, Tim.
Did we vote on the area chair?
Yes.
I don't remember his name right
we did
now.
that last month, except for Tony, and we got Tony.
Well, that's what I meant. Tony. Did we vote on Tony?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You now have an area chair to berate and bring to greatness.
Oh, I did that long before he got elected.
Because I think my bride wants me to go to dinner with her, or eat with her at least. Anything else? Any member concerned? Raise that blue hand, because we're 90 minutes in. We're 5 minutes over, and I hate running long. And I see no more blue hands. All right, we are going to have an online coffee / breakfast the first Saturday. We're working on an agenda, so stay tuned. Precinct captains, be prepared to start receiving your precinct manuals. And if we just have to start calling people, since we can't knock on doors and whatever, we're going to do that. But we need to get fully staffed and recruited. Any other thing that anybody wants to close with? And I don't see any. So everybody, thank you very much for participating on that and on the call tonight. And we're good to go. Thank you so much. On to victory in November, even however we're going to get there. All right, thanks,
Charlie.
everybody.
Thank you, Charlie.
All right, good night.
Hey,
Have a
hey
good night,
Charlie,
everybody.
I sent you a private message, so
Will
just
do.
want to make sure you got it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.